Good morning, students. In our last lecture, we discussed about various sources of long-term finance, such as equity shares, preference shares, and debentures. In today's lecture, let us start by discussing the characteristics of debentures. So, the first characteristic is its maturity. Debentures have a maturity date. Date of maturity means the date of repayment of debentures. As per the terms of issue of debenture, the debenture should be redeemed after a fixed period of time or on a certain date. तो जो भी उसका टाइम पीरियड होता है डिबेंचर का, लाइक अगर वो रिडीमेबल डिबेंचर है तो 5 years का या जितना भी उसका टाइम पीरियड होता है, तो 10 years का, 15 years का, तो उस टाइम पर एक फिक्स्ड डेट पर, सर्टेन डेट पर वो रिडीम होता है. और रिडम्पशन के टाइम पर वो या तो एट पार रिडीम हो सकता है, प्रीमियम हो सकता है. ओके, तो इट डिपेंड्स. और डिस्काउंट पे इशू किया जा सकता है. व्हेन द डिबेंचर्स will be redeemed, it depends on a number of factors, including the conditions of capital and money market at the time of issue of debenture, the current rate of interest, and the goodwill of the company. So debentures holder do not want that the company may continue to use their funds for a fairly long period. Rather, they want the liquidity and security of their money. If there is great risk, the debenture holder will wish an early payment. The debentures may be redeemable as well as irredeemable. Redeemable debentures are redeemed at a particular fixed maturity time or date. In case of redeemable debenture, there is no fixed date of redemption, and they are not redeemed as such. In India, such debentures are not prevalent, the redeemable one. Okay, so the redeemable debentures, the irredeemable debenture, there is no date of maturity which is fixed and are redeemed at an option of company when they are going to be redeemed. Then second is the claims of income. The debenture holder have preferential rights on the income of the company. So whenever a company is going to distribute its profit, first of all, it has to pay the interest to the debenture holders. After that, they have to pay a preference dividend to the preference dividend shareholder, and at last there comes the equity shareholder. So debenture holder get the priority over all kind of creditors and stakeholders of the company. So firstly, the shareholder can't be paid any dividend without payment of interest to the debenture holders. Secondly, the income from interest on debentures to the debenture holder is fixed and has to be paid essentially, whether the income of company is more or less than it. If the company fails to pay them regular interest, the debenture holder can initiate a legal action for the liquidation of the company. So this way they can claim their income and their rights. Then the claim on assets. Debenture holders have preferential claim on the assets of the company also as compared to the shareholders. Such situation arises in case of the liquidation or reorganization or restructuring of the company. In case of liquidation of the company, the debenture holder get their principal and accrued interest before any payment to the shareholders. Normally, the debenture holders have charge against the special assets so that their interests are secured. Such debentures are called the secured debentures. Then the controlling power. Debenture holders are the creditors to the company and they do not have any voting right as such. Just like the shareholders, they don't have the voting right. Shareholders के पास voting right होता है ordinary shareholders के पास, but debenture holders के पास में कोई voting right नहीं होता है. They cannot participate in the appointment of board of directors. They don't have any kind of decision making or controlling right or power on the company, but indirectly they can influence the important managerial decisions. For example, they can put a condition to maintain a minimum liquidity ratio or to accumulate the fixed amount of reserves on the basis of their agreement with the company. But in case the company is paying them interest and the principal in time as per the contract, they cannot interfere in routine matters of the company. Then the another long-term source of finance are the loans or the long-term loans, or the simply we can call them as a term loan from the financial institution. Generally, the companies raise a large portion of their funds by issuing equity shares, preference shares, and debentures for the achievement of their objectives, including the project expansion, modernization, diversification, etc. But due to increase in the cost of projects, the industrial units have to depend on the medium term and long term loans. For the fulfillment of their requirements for medium term and long term loans, a number of financial institutions have been established at the state level, national, and international levels. In India, the financial institutions established at the national level include the Industrial Development Bank of India (IDBI), Industrial Financial Corporation of India (IFCI), Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India (ICICI), Industrial Reconstruction Corporation of India (IRCI), Life Insurance Corporation of India (LIC), General Insurance Corporation (GIC), Unit Trust of India (UTI). Beside, at the state level, various state finance corporations are there, and the state industrial development corporations SIDCs have been established. For example, in Haryana, HFC and HSIDC have been established. All these institutions not only provide the long term and medium term loans, but also provide the technical assistance. जब भी कोई कोई नया वेंचर प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट होता है, तो उसको इस तरीके के जो ये सारे फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस है, ये इनकी इक्विटी में पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, लॉन्ग टर्म लोन भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं, और साथ में कुछ टेक्निकल असिस्टेंस और ट्रेनिंग भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं, ताकि ये बिजनेसेस अच्छे से रन कर सके, सर्वाइव कर सके और ग्रो कर सके। और जैसे जैसे ये धीरे धीरे डेवलप होने लगते हैं, खुद को एस्टेब्लिश करने लगते हैं, ये अपनी इक्विटी को विड्रॉ करने के, डाइवेस्ट करने लगते हैं उन बिजनेसेस में से, और उनको सेल्फ मेड बना देते हैं। ओके, so before providing financial assistance, technical, financial, and economic aspects of the industrial units are evaluated with the help of the expert. That is basically the aspect of the project appraisal. क्योंकि जब भी आप कोई नया प्रोजेक्ट अप्रूव करते हो और एज अ फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को असिस्ट करते हो, तो उससे पहले उसके बहुत सारे एस्पेक्ट्स से उसकी फिजिबिलिटी भी देखनी होती है, उसका प्रोजेक्ट अप्रेजल भी करना होता है फ्रॉम वेरियस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यूज। And then the public deposits. Public deposits are an important source of medium term and long term finance of a company. In India, this is a traditional source of finance, जो public deposit होता है. After the third 5-year plan, there have been tremendous increase in the public deposits. In India, normally public deposits are accepted for a period of 3 years. From 1/4/87, the maximum rate of interest on public deposits can be 14%. Then the lease financing, that is another source of long term finance only. Initially, the concept of lease was limited to land only, but for the past few years, lease financing is becoming operational in the industrial arena. Lease is a long term source of business finance. Companies can take necessary business assets on lease rather than buying them. If they purchase these fixed assets, they have to pay in full. Contrarily, under lease agreement, company gets the right to use the asset after making part payment for it. Under this agreement, the owner of the asset, that is called lessor, जो कि जिसके पास में asset है, मे बी फॉर एग्जाम्पल कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट हो सकता है लाइक JCB और सम अनदर asset, कोई कोई वो हो सकता है, आपका एयर जेट हो सकता है, surrenders the right to use the asset इन फेवर ऑफ द अदर पर्सन विच इज द लेसी. तो बेसिकली जो लेसर है वो अपना जो राइट टू यूज है, राइट ऑफ द इकोनॉमिक यूज ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर एसेट, वो लेसी को दे देता है इन कंसिडरेशन ऑफ प्री डिटरमाइंड रेंट. और जो लेसी है वो एक पर्टिकुलर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम के लिए प्री डिटरमाइंड रेंट जो है, जिसको कि लीज कहते हैं, वो पे करता रहता है लेसर को. ओके, तो ये जो रेंट है ये एनुअली भी पे हो सकता है, ये मंथली भी पे हो सकता है, फोर्टनाइटली भी पे हो सकता है. इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द पीरियोडिसिटी ऑफ द पेमेंट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर लीज रेंट. After the lease period, whether the asset will be returned to the lessor or it will be retained by the lessee, it depends on the terms of the lease or the renewal of the lease contract. Thus, the ownership and the use of asset in case of lease lies in different hands. In industrial era, the use of lease financing started after 1980s. So that's it about today's lecture, student, in which we have completed all the long-term sources of finance. In our next lecture, and it also included the medium-term sources also. And in our next lecture, we are going to discuss about the short-term sources of finance. So thank you very much for listening, guys. Thank you.